Recently, Iran's newly appointed supreme leader, the highest political and religious authority in the country, delivered a highly publicized address pointed directly at the United States. Modern standoffs usually involve talk of ballistic missiles, naval blockades, and uranium enrichment, but this specific threat relied on something surprisingly ancient. The supreme leader stated that, if Allah wills it, even birds can defeat elephants. When two modern military powers are trading threats, it seems strange to project strength using tiny, fragile animals. To understand the strategy behind this standoff, we have to look past the modern weapons and trace the specific religious foundation of the rhetoric. That quote comes directly from Surah Al-Fil, a chapter in the Holy Quran. Surah Al-Fil translates to the chapter of the elephant. The text recounts a historical event where a massive, heavily armed invading force marched forward, using giant war elephants to crush anything in their path. But that unstoppable momentum was shattered when a remarkably small flock of birds dived from the sky, dropping stones that obliterated the invading army. The lesson is entirely about divine intervention. It illustrates that physical size and brute force mean absolutely nothing against divine will. Within Islamic history, this story stands as the ultimate proof that the structurally weak can achieve total victory over the physically mighty. Iran's leadership is taking that specific historical metaphor and mapping it directly onto their current military dynamic with the United States. This chart shows the massive quantitative imbalance in conventional forces and resources between the two nations. There is a stark, undeniable asymmetry between a global superpower and a regional power. Rather than trying to obscure that immense disadvantage, Iranian officials are actively weaponizing it by invoking the birds and the elephants. By casting the United States as the elephants, the rhetoric paints American military power as clumsy, overly reliant on brute force, and doomed by its own arrogance. On the flip side, casting themselves as the birds allows Iranian leadership to reframe their physical vulnerability as undeniable proof of a righteous, divinely supported resistance. They take a real-world military weakness and forge it into an impenetrable ideological shield. While the address was pointed directly at Washington, the true intended audience was actually the Iranian public. This strategy functions on two levels. A leader uses aggressive external posturing to achieve specific goals at home. It's a way to turn a foreign threat into a domestic asset. Intelligence analysts note that this specific historical reference is primarily a calculated message of unity and resistance. Invoking this ancient story of survival is designed to speak directly to the population by appealing to national pride and support. They are deploying this strategy right now because the state is facing severe internal pressure, deep economic struggles, and rising geopolitical tensions on its borders. Pointing to a massive, threatening external elephant is historically a highly effective way to keep a fractured domestic population working together. By validating the struggle of the small, outgunned birds, the state legitimizes its own authority to lead the country through a prolonged crisis. This religious narrative specifically inoculates the public against despair, because the story practically guarantees an ultimate divine victory regardless of the immediate physical hardships they face. Statecraft often employs religious and historical symbolism as a precise strategic mechanism. Leaders use these narratives to navigate complex global conflicts and project deep resilience. What other historical examples can you think of where leaders used a similar underdog mythology to survive an existential crisis? Let us know in the comments. The stories a nation chooses to tell about itself can be just as critical to its survival as the weapons it wields.